All right, I think we're live. Welcome in, guys. Thanks, everyone who's going to be tuning in tonight. Again, we're back with Mario Mondays. Here we are, guys. 8:30 Central Time. Going to be a standard thing for us moving forward. But here we are again. I'm Jonathan. This is Austin, and tonight we're going to be talking about Mario. So let's get into it, Austin. Our main topic, as you guys saw from the title and the thumbnail, we're going to be talking the first Super Mario Bros. Movie, how it compares to some other video game movies, and what that's going to look like going forward for video game movies in general. There's a whole lot to discuss there. There's lots of TV shows, lots of movies coming out. So we really want to kind of compare, contrast some of the other popular movies that have come out recently, where Mario sits within the bunch, and how we think maybe Galaxy is going to do compared to the other. So, Oss, let's talk a little bit about the first Mario Bros. Movie. Give me kind of your general thoughts, and let me know what you think, how that movie was, and tell me about it.
Yeah, I mean, like historically, video game movies have not done great, right? I mean, so you're looking at the long list of video game movies that have been around for a long time, and things like Tomb Raider, things like Assassin's Creed, things there's just a lot of older games that have been adapted over time that haven't done really well. And now we're looking at some juggernauts, right? I mean, Sonic kind of started this whole thing where Sonic the Hedgehog did so well. Now there's three movies, a fourth one coming on the way, and these movies have done incredibly well, which allowed Nintendo to really get their Mario movie out. And this animated movie did massive. And we're going to talk about the numbers that these movies did. We're going to talk about
Hmm.
the critic and the audience scores for these movies as well. But when you look at the Mario movie, the question kind of is like, is Mario the biggest and the best video game movie of all time, right? And we're comparing it to things like Sonic, we're comparing it to things like Detective Pikachu, and some of these other movies that are more adult. But overall, I think the success of movies like Sonic and Mario is because it's multi generational. It works for the full family, kids, and the adults. And when this Mario movie came out, that first one, dude, I mean, you and I went and saw it together, and that movie
Hmm.
was incredible. I mean, just it paid homage to so many things from Mario history, and they got the music right, they got the look right. I personally think the voice acting they got right. I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
people hate on that, but just the look of this movie and how they adapted the world of Mario, to me, makes it one of the most faithful video game movies ever, in my opinion. And I think that they're just continuing to set the stage for that. I mean, Galaxy's about to come out, and the Galaxy movie, it looks like it's even more than that. It looks like they're adding everything into it. And I
Yeah.
just think Nintendo's really building like their cinematic universe for the Mario movie. So like when it comes to the Super Mario Bros. Movie, the very first one, I think it's king. I
Yeah.
think it stays there because it allowed you to see what it was like to play the games, but go in there and watch an actual story taking place within the Mushroom Kingdom and piece everything together from all the games really well. Something that really Sonic didn't do as much. I mean, like the Sonic movie was really good, but it took them time to build up to that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the movie was probably the most faithful with Sonic Adventure 2.
Yep.
The Mario movie jumped right into just bringing you into that world. Sonic is great with, and we're going to look at the numbers and kind of how that did. But over just in general, I think the Mario probably had the best opening in terms
Yeah.
of reviews.
Yeah, I mean, we can look at that and talk about the numbers and the critic score and audience score, but there's no denying that Nintendo and Illumination knocked it out of the ballpark with the Mario Bros. Movie. And I think it's a huge win for, video game fans in general, because now they're seeing some success with these movies like you talked about, like Sonic and Mario and some of the other. There's even a bunch of shows coming out now, but yeah, if you go back to like before, if you go back 10 years ago, there had just been flop after flop of video game adaptation. Like the original Super Mario Bros. Movie back in the 90s. You remember how terrible that was?
Yeah.
How like everyone, dogged on it. I mean, it's the laughing stock of a video game movie. And so I think just they did a couple things better this go around, just choosing for it to be animated for one, because I think it's just easier for an animated video game to turn into an animated movie where they can, show exactly the characters how they are in the games, and kind of stay true to form in that sense. And then I think one of the reasons why this movie did so well was because Nintendo was heavily involved. Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of Mario, was heavily involved, and he made sure that each one of those scenes was true to the games, true to fans, and it wasn't like they followed a specific story, from a particular game, which I think is the best way to do it because it kind of leaves the doors open for you to have your own creative, writing in the movies and whatnot. But I think that they gave so many Easter eggs for all types of fans, new fans, old fans, and they really knocked out of the park. And what we're seeing from the trailers of the new movie is they're doing the same. They're throwing in so many Easter eggs, so many things that video game fans can be like, oh, I remember that from this game, or I remember that from that game. You just pull up YouTube and look at a trailer breakdown of Galaxy, and you'll see 100 things that you'll notice from video games. And so I think that's part of the reason why they've been so successful. And Sonic really did that too, and that's why they're on their fourth movie. Mario now on its second.
Yeah, I mean, you look at movies like, so I mean, not as family friendly, but you look at movies like Tomb Raider, you look at movies like Assassin's Creed, you look at
Hmm.
movies like Minecraft, which did really well in the box office this past year.
Yeah,
You look at those movies and you think, how did they adapt the game well? Did they adapt it well? And Tomb Raider, I mean, maybe this is a hot take, but like, arguably, those movies didn't really adapt it. Like they casted it good. I mean, Angelina Jolie was really good
hmm,
as that character. But the movies, to me, I mean, maybe it was the wrong time they made them. Same with Assassin's Creed. They kind of got rid of what made those games so great in those movies. So you
right.
look at Sonic. Sonic had an interesting history for those of you that know about the Sonic movies. They originally were going to make Sonic look super realistic, and he was going to look terrible.
Yep.
And I mean, like with that being said, like they listened to fans. Fans cried out, and now there's three Sonic movies, a TV show, and now a fourth movie on the way.
Yep.
And it's because they listened to fans and they're really trying to get the story right. But even the Sonic movies, I mean, Jeff Fowler, who's the director and the producer of those movies, like he's putting his own spin on it a little bit. They're putting Sonic in the real world. They're kind of tying it into the games, but also into their own little spin on it. Mario really didn't do that. Mario took everything that Nintendo had ever created about Mario, and it was like, let's figure out a way to tell a brand new story in the Mushroom Kingdom, but by being faithful to all the things that we had set up in the past. And
Yeah.
they're doing that really well so far. And I'm curious to see how Galaxy does because there's a lot of expectations of like, can Galaxy, you know, live up to the games?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting with it being titled Galaxy because that does kind of obviously assume some sort of storyline because it's named after the game or games, because there's Galaxy 1 and 2. But we've already seen from the trailer, Austin, that they're still writing their own story. There's going to be similarities. There's going to be a lot of draw, a lot of pull from the games. But we're in Toast Arena. We're seeing T-Rexes in the trailers. We obviously are getting our own version of Mario Galaxy, if you will, through the movies, which I'm a huge fan of. I think when you try to do just like a complete storyline remake of a game, it takes away some of that creativity that writers and the actors can really run with. And so I'm excited that they're doing a themed movie but broad enough, and I think that helps with like it's just being in the galaxy kind of thing. And so I think that is like that's the way to do it, not following particular games because they have a ton to choose from, but they want to kind of make this go far. And I fully anticipate like Nintendo and specifically Mario, like the Super Mario series, if you want to include everyone that's included in that, that they're going to have a lot more movies to come because without even thinking too hard about it, Donkey Kong movie, Luigi's Mansion movie. I mean, we already are going to get um, Zelda. I know that's a different thing, but Zelda's already confirmed in filming and whatnot. But all the characters that they have, maybe Star Fox comes in this movie. Like, there's so many other spin-offs that we could get. There's just the possibilities are kind of endless, and so that's why I'm glad that they're doing their own creative storytelling because I want them obviously to be able to tie these things all together and go their own path as opposed to trying to just follow video games and like be predictable.
Yeah. No, I mean, and they don't have to follow the story exactly from the games for it to be, considered a faithful adaptation. I mean,
Sure.
there's a lot of things that make a faithful adaptation, and that's style, that's tone, that's character development.
Mhm.
Those type of things. If they retain the heart and soul of what Mario, Peach, Bowser, Luigi, Toad, all those characters are, which I do feel like they did. They did give Peach more of a role in these movies, which makes sense with the story.
Yeah.
Um, but if they retain that heart and soul, then I think that you know it does the job. Which a lot of people out there would actually disagree because a lot of people hated the fact that they casted certain people like Chris Pratt as Mario and that kind of thing. But I mean, like, look at the movie. Look at, like, I mean, it's fun. It appeals to all ages. There's things in there that like only like people who've been playing for a long time like really notice. I mean, like you and I freaked out just by the music being played and like little things. And then
Yeah.
the first time they went into the sewer in Brooklyn and they were playing the music, the dungeon music
Yep.
or the
Yep.
like cave music, like that was super cool.
Yeah.
And so
Underground world.
people like that notice those things. I didn't notice that as much in like Sonic or Detective Pikachu or some
Yeah.
of these other movies that like were trying to adapt a larger world. Mario did that, and I think that
Yeah.
that's why we're getting another one because it was so successful.
Yeah, and that kind of I think again goes back to me harping on the point that Nintendo and Shigeru Miyamoto were involved, and those are the type of things that the video game people are going to be thinking about. They're like, "Hey,
Yeah.
he's going into the sewers underground. Of course, World 1-2 music needs to play. Like that's obvious, like we're going, the certain sound effects, like all that goes on, like of course that music, remix of the Superstar music is going to play when Mario and Luigi grab the superstar at the end of the movie. Like those things are all like small little things that play so much to the video game fans and what makes it good and what makes someone like you and I say, "Oh man, like we saw that together, but I'm going to go take my kids, I'm going to go take my wife, I'm going to take a coworker and see it a couple times in the theater and tell some people about it, be like, "Hey, let's go see it." And that's how it ended up being the best video game, adaptation movie that we've had to date. And I think that's, they've got a recipe for success with both the premium like movie animation with Illumination. They obviously know what they're doing, and then Nintendo being heavily involved. It's a match made in heaven, and they're going to make a lot of good movies.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo struck gold back in the '80s when they created Mario, because I
Hmm.
think the thing is with other video game adaptations with games that aren't as family friendly, you're losing out on a lot of viewership and a lot of people that are going to take their families and their kids and things to see these movies. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's the aspect where like if they actually made a faithful adaptation of something really good, then like yeah, all those fans are going to go out and watch it. But I mean, you have because Mario is multi generational, because Sonic
Hmm.
is multi generational, like you have a level of thing there that is a gold mine because Nintendo is the best in the biz, in my opinion. A lot of hate around
Yeah.
Nintendo, but Nintendo has stood the test of time. Nintendo's continued to make party games. Nintendo's continued to make family games. We still play it 30 years into our lives that we were playing when we were kids. And so at the end of the day, like Nintendo, I think is going to go the long haul with their movies, and it's no wonder that this movie did so well. And I
Yeah.
think Galaxy is going to surpass it. To be honest with you,
I don't disagree. Yeah, let's get into that a little bit also. Let's talk about what the Mario movie did compared to maybe like the Sonic movie and maybe some other movies. So we know, as we were discussing earlier, the critic score for it. Obviously, the critics are going to have a little bit harsher score on something like a video game movie that was only an hour and a half long, but the audience score tells the tale here. 95% audience score on the Mario movie. I mean, that's A plus, right? And then if you look at the box office, we did 1.3 billion on the Mario movie. Head and shoulders above every other video game adaptation.
yeah, that's insane. I mean, that's like I mean, not quite Avatar level, but like movies like Avatar, like those big
Yeah.
juggernauts, like Mario got close.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty incredible. Like if you compare it to something like the Sonic movies, who if you guys have seen those, they're incredible movies. Like not saying Mario is necessarily a better movie, but like it appealed to more people, it got more people out there, obviously, because all Sonic three, the three Sonic movies combined did 1.2 billion. So all three did about 100 million less than the one Mario movie, which is pretty insane. Obviously, Mario, like with the animation style, is going to appeal to a bit more of a like the young kids. And again, like I said, people are going to go see it multiple times. It's just it pulled a lot of things in, but even something like Minecraft, which many would say right now is more popular than Mario, couldn't quite crack a billion. They did 900 something million. So
Yeah.
I think that tells you again, like you said, multi generational love for Mario, and then just a fan service. 95% audience score is off the charts, and I think I agree with you, Austin. I think Galaxy, from what we've seen so far, like everything they've given us to look at, I think it's going to be better than the first Mario Bros. Movie because some things are established. I'm a little disappointed that the movie is not a little longer. It looks to be about the same time as the first movie, which is a little quick, but hopefully they already have some things established with Mario, Peach, Luigi, Bowser. So there's already some groundwork laid, and I hope that gives them a little bit more kind of room to run with the characters and let the story develop a little bit. Obviously, we'll see a handful of new characters join in, but I'm very excited to see what we get.
Dude, look at these. This is the 95% audience rating for Super Mario Bros. Movie. Just going through some of these reviews, just so you can kind of get a consensus. Best video game movie I've ever seen. It was good, followed a good storyline. Possibly the greatest video game movie. Excellent movie, fun
Yep.
movie. I love all the retro Nintendo references. We talked about that.
Oh yeah.
Um, this one turned out to be a pleasant surprise. A good classic. Definitely did not overdo it. Cute kids movie. Fantastic movie.
Yeah.
A good movie, but there could have been more hype. I don't really know what that means by that. Better than my expectations. Another fun movie with kids.
Yeah.
Also for Mario of old. Yes, sir. Our family loved it. Best Sonic movie yet. That's funny.
Of course. Of course.
Another instant classic. So you get the sense, like people are like, "This is a classic. This is a good family kids movie.
Yep.
This is fun for the whole family. It's good for all of us fans." So yeah, I mean, like Mario did incredibly well. So if we go back to the critic rating, just because you get a consensus of like, okay, so audiences loved it because I mean, ultimately, audiences usually know better, but like critics don't love video game movies at all.
No.
I mean, so this one 2 out of 4, harmless and charmless, which whatever. This one was a little bit better. Offers us an entertaining plot, beautiful messages. It's just disappointing that Mario, Luigi, and the gang had to settle for something so mediocre, particularly when big budget Western animation has seen incredible features from Sony and DreamWorks. I thought the animation was beautiful in this movie.
What? Yes, seriously, it was incredible. I don't know what they're
Doesn't
talking
make
about.
This guy, Gavin Spores, whoever you are, you suck. While I wanted to see more complex story here, still found myself laughing and enjoying. Okay, that's decent.
Yeah.
Super Mario Brothers movie features countless Easter eggs set to a gorgeous score. Falls short whenever it needs to be an actual movie.
Yeah, I mean these critics are going to find the nitpicky things that fans aren't going to see, and vice versa. Fans are going to see the great things that these critics don't know anything about. That's why you see such disparity.
Yeah, I mean, like Super Mario Bros. Movie is an imagination-free wasteland where cinematic storytelling goes to die. Like,
Yeah.
what imagination are you looking for when like the whole point of the thing was for you to adapt the world, which they did?
Yeah, I think some critics obviously have like some sort of rubric that they look at to think that like a movie has to do this in order to be good and enjoyable, and that's just not the case. Like,
Yeah.
yes, like you could the biggest critique of the Mario movie was that it was maybe a little short and rushed, and like you could have developed a handful of different storylines and characters a little bit more, but they were able to pack a lot of scenes in that first movie in an hour and a half, which makes it more appetizing to like families with young kids and things like that. So they kind of have to play the whole field when they're making these movies, and obviously by the audience score, they crushed it.
Dude. But like, I mean, either these critics have never played Mario or they don't know the point of a kids movie. I mean, or like a family movie. I mean, the
Yeah,
reason it's an hour and a half is because they're trying to pack that in for families to be able to go see and not get bored by. So I get it. Like obviously as adults, we're looking for something a little bit more, but they're gonna
sure.
probably flesh that out across multiple movies like Sonic did.
Yeah,
I mean, because look at this one. Super Mario Bros. Movie, on the other hand, is so cynical and dated right out of the gate that it makes something as inherently positive as Mario feel a tad distasteful. Like, what the crap does that mean?
again, I think it's unrealistic expectations or just expectations that don't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like there's a handful of fans, obviously, like like you've mentioned, that saw the casting for the different characters and thought, oh no, here we go, like this is going to be terrible. They got popular people to play the voices in the movie, and what you really need for voice acting is like someone who's gonna stay true to the character and kind of get out of the way and let the animation of the character really come alive and like let that do it. And that's exactly what they did. People were hating on Chris Pratt so much. Look, he just needed to play the role and not like get in the way. You needed to watch the movie and not think, oh, that's Chris Pratt talking all the time, and you didn't. You really felt like he blended it perfectly with the Mario, with his personality, with the slight accent he had, like he did that fine. There was no issues, and I guarantee you, most people wouldn't even notice. If you weren't like fully involved and be like, "Oh, I'm Chris Pratt lover or hater or whatever." But
Yeah,
that's all. That's all they need to do, and those actors all did it very well. Jack Black, Anya Taylor Joy, Charlie Day, even Michael Keaton Key as Toad. They all did a great job with all the characters, and that's why they're all returning. Plus bringing in some more staples like Brie Larson. I know you're not the biggest fan of Brie Larson, but I'm excited for what she does with Rosalina.
for sure. Um, so I'm going to jump over to Sonic the Hedgehog just so we can compare these scores and everything to Mario. So
Yeah,
the Rotten Tomatoes score for critics was 64%, so actually it was higher
a little better.
than Mario. And then the audience score was 93%, which is 2%
Still
lower
excellent.
than audience, but it's still incredibly
Yeah, still super high. I mean, that's great, and it was a great movie. Obviously, we saw it. I've seen it multiple times with my kids as well.
okay.
It's a great movie.
Yeah. So, what did you say the numbers were for box office for Sonic?
Sonic, I think in total for all three movies were 1.2 billion, but it is of note that the first movie I think did about 315 million. The second movie did a little bit more, and the third movie did a little bit more. So they've gotten increasingly better.
Yeah. So, I mean, they got increasingly better, but even Mario, and it's just one movie, did better than those three.
Yeah,
So, I mean, but it is a pretty good consensus across audiences that both Sonic and Mario are super beloved. I mean, they're two of the biggest video game icons of all time. So,
yeah,
93% compared to the 95% that the Super Mario Brothers movie got, they're pretty much comparable from without.
absolutely, yeah. As far as
And
like the movie beloved by and stayed true to fans, fans are speaking their mind that this movie is basically like a must watch.
yeah, so I am curious about the critic score of why they thought this was better than the Super Mario Brothers movie. So let's read some of these. So this says some of the most obvious and cringeworthy product placement since Michael Bay's Transformers. So this person didn't like it as much. Here, let's find one that's a little bit better. Is this the best video game movie ever? No. Is it better than its predecessors? Yes. If you grew up with Sega or had kids, then give it a shot. See, I feel like that type of review from a critic, you could apply the same thing to Mario.
Yeah,
Um, so when it's keep its focus on lighthearted charm of its lead character and explores friendship, it's pretty good. The production is dependable, plenty of visual references for those who have played on Sega. Complete package, entertaining adventure with impressive effects. One winning joke after the next. Um, that person actually um, commented a review about another one because that's not from the first one. Result is a fun treat, easily coupling heartfelt moments with the perfect amount of comedic level. So you get a sense of like people love the message behind it, like the family aspect of Sonic.
yeah.
I would say that I don't know if you agree with this, but Sonic may have a better, well put together story
Yeah, I
than
mean, you
Mario.
yeah, you could definitely argue that they developed a few more characters. I think Sonic had maybe, I mean, I don't know. Mario had a fairly good arc in the first movie too, but
Yeah.
they were both really good. Oh, Austin, we got some comments rolling in that might be a little bit hot take. Let's talk about this.
Okay.
Legendary
Legendary
Link.
Link. I see you, man. Jim Carrey was awful in the Sonic movies. Almost ruined the movie. Interesting. Um, so Legendary Link. Why do you think? Why do you think that? Why like what? Do you have an issue with Jim Carrey typically,
Yeah,
or
let's talk about that a little bit because obviously Jim Carrey has kind of played a certain role in his acting career, and he's kind of the funny, goofy guy. He's got a lot of faces, a lot of voices that he takes on. You can see it in many movies he's done, The Mask, Ace Ventura. He's that kind of guy, Bruce Almighty, and obviously he makes he brings a lot of comedic relief to the Sonic movie, which I think does a good job, especially in the third one. When he plays a couple different another role as well. If you guys haven't seen the movie, but um, I think he does a great job. Obviously, he's like you know what you're getting a little bit. That's where I think expectations might be a little off as to what people are thinking the movie's going to be about. But Jim Carrey's hilarious as always, and he brings a lot of like laughs to the big screen as Dr. Eggman, Dr. Robotnik.
yeah? I mean, I think it depends, I guess, Link, if you think that Jim Carrey in general is annoying or ruins movies, but like he's had some. I mean, he's obviously a comedic genius and has had some great movies. Maybe Sonic wasn't the right spot for a lot of people to put him. I don't really know who I would have chosen to be Dr. Robotnik because I think when we think of Sonic and Robotnik, we think of the big fat Eggman, which they
Yeah.
started kind of adapting more of in the third one.
Yeah.
And we'll probably get. I mean, I think with the alternate universes in Sonic 4, we'll probably get more of that. But I don't
Absolutely.
know. I didn't really think he ruined it. I just thought it provided a different style of Robotnik to us. And I think with them trying to make it more realistic in the real world, like Jim Carrey kind of worked. But I can understand why people didn't like it because maybe it was too silly or too goofy when Robotnik is more of just like straightforward maniacal genius that's trying to kill a hedgehog. Uh,
Yeah.
so I could go either way, but I don't know. I feel like the Sonic movies have a lot of heart to them, and so Jim Carrey did not ruin it for me. But I respect the opinion, dude. Like I'm not gonna hate on that. I think a lot of people have. He just said horrible villain. So
Yeah.
is what it is. I'm actually curious, Legendary Link. I don't know if you were on when we were talking about Super Mario movie, but when we were looking at the critic score for that, a lot of people had a problem with Chris Pratt. So do you have a problem with Chris Pratt as Mario? Because I mean, you can kind of toss up the two, right? I mean, like you're looking at casting for beloved characters. Obviously, okay, you love them, sweet. So that maybe there's a difference there because you have a voice actor behind an animated character versus
True.
somebody who is
Yeah.
live action. I don't know.
Which is an interesting thing, and that's I know we're talking Mario here, but that's one just not in Sonic. Okay, I mean maybe it is what it is. I think there's you're not going to hit a home run with every casting you make, but there is some kind of protection around the animated movies, and we've seen this with not backlash but kind of fan worry with the Zelda movie, Austin, because
Yeah,
that was announced and obviously it's going to be live action, and immediately people were groaning, singing, saying like, "Oh no, like that's going to be hard to get right." I think that's the consensus is like if it's animated, they can they give themselves a little bit of leeway to get a good voice actor and have good animation. But when you go live action, the kind of pressure's on to make it true to the games, to make it look good. Like everything else, like there has got to be more, there's more human element basically. And so that's a higher stakes, I think. And maybe that's some of the thing that people have to deal with a little bit. And we'll see how when the Zelda movie comes out. I mean, to be honest, we're about a year away, a little over a year away, and I'm pretty excited for it. But it's going to be different. It's different than the animated movie for sure.
for sure. I mean, and I have my opinions about that. I bet Legendary Link has some opinions about the Zelda movie coming out, but I think I would have preferred Link to be animated to kind of fit into the world with Mario and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Especially if they would have done a Super Mario Brothers or not a Super Mario Brothers, Super Smash Brothers movie
yeah,
moving forward. But yeah, overall, I mean, there's definitely some comparisons to the Sonic movie versus Mario, and I can see why they both did well. Um, so I think they're pretty comparable. I just think that the Mario movie definitely was more faithful in terms of bringing us the heroes and the villains and the people they cast it and the world they built. But at the
yeah,
end of the day, I love the Sonic movies. Like you and I were freaking out in Sonic 3.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, those movies were all great. And what I like about them is that they've all done continually better, showing that they're doing a good job. And in fact, they're having a fourth movie, which gets me excited for the Mario movie, um, and how successful the first movie was, how good the second one looks. I mean, I just can't imagine it not doing about as equal as the first one did, with all the characters they're bringing in. It just looks so good. There's a lot of like I don't know, Mario hype right now. I'd say Mario Day is coming out next week, and I think there's going to be more Mario stuff coming out. They're doing all sorts of stuff, and so I would say that that's kind of at a all time high. And I think you have more and more people coming in, and kids are watching these movies. Like the first Mario movie, my kids have watched tons of times, almost on a weekly basis. And with the way movies are now, you don't actually get a ton of great movies in the theater. And so I hope and I think that people are going to show out for this one. We're less than a month away, so we'll see what it does. But great, given it's going to do well. I think that, like I said earlier, the possibilities for the way where Nintendo and Illumination go with the Mario series are kind of endless. I mean, you know, there's so many different directions they could go, so many different games they could work off of, and they can continue story building for years and years.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the beauty of these characters, like um, Sonic and Mario, is that they are probably the two biggest icons of video games of all time, and
Yeah.
I'm glad that both of them are doing so well. And so when you compare them, like I do think that Mario is a better video game adaptation,
Hmm.
but by no means do I think Sonic sucks. I think they're the two biggest video game movies of all time, and we're about to start talking about Pokemon, which obviously is probably the third biggest. Some people would argue the biggest video game franchise of all time.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that when you're looking at other movies like Minecraft and Tomb Raider and Assassin's Creed and the many other video game adaptations that have ever been made, we're finally getting to a place to where the storytelling actually works for people, both video game nerds and just normal audiences. So, Jonathan, I'm going to
Yeah.
pull up the Detective Pikachu movie. I know there's a lot of Pokemon movies, but Detective Pikachu was like that live action counterpart to Sonic.
Yeah,
Uh,
and it was way more recent. The other movies are older.
While I pull that up, give me your thoughts on what you thought about that movie compared to these Sonic and Mario
Yeah, I
movies.
mean, it was different. Obviously, it didn't play a role. I mean, like that's not um that's another storyline that they chose to go down that wasn't necessarily video game like following, I think they've had Detective Pikachu video games, but Pokemon and Pikachu is not about Detective Pikachu. Like that's not what the video games. That's not how the video games became popular or anything. So they kind of went a different route, and I think that movie did fine. Like I think it was okay, and it was they followed a fun thing. They made some comedic relief in there. Like I think the movie did fine, and the box office showed that it did just fine. But I think that they have a like if they wanted to get back in the game and make a legit movie, kind of like what Nintendo and Illumination did. I think that there is a lot of money to be made if they chose to go down that route, but they got to do it right. And I don't think Detective Pikachu was the way to do it right, but it wasn't a terrible movie.
Yeah, I mean, you look at other video game adaptations like Dragon Ball. Um, well, that was more anime, I guess. But like you look at like Street Fighter and Mortal
Yeah,
Kombat and some of
Mortal
these other
Kombat. Yeah,
movies. Like those are interesting video game adaptations that have never really worked. And then and like even the newer ones, I don't think that they're that great. And I think that Detective Pikachu, the only reason it worked was because of Ryan Reynolds and because of his
yeah,
comedic timing and the way the story was. I never played the
sure.
Detective Pikachu games, but when I think of a Pokemon movie, like I'm thinking of like the animated movies, and I'm thinking of like Ash Ketchum, and I'm thinking of like doing something that's like
Yeah.
legit instead of just like a comedy, like buddy comedy type thing. But I
Right.
really did like this movie, and when you look at the scores, 79% isn't terrible.
No, that's good. I
Obviously,
mean,
it's
that's fair.
than Sonic and Mario, but it's still higher than a lot of other adaptations.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I think if they want to get back in the game, they're gonna have to do it a different way. If they want to try to compete, and not compete, but just like keep Pokemon as prestigious as it is elsewhere, like in the video games and in the just in its media franchise in general. So while it was fun, I think that they are kind of taking a step back to like try to understand what the next path forward is, and it's hopefully going to be different. Yeah, so it's interesting that like they could go the animator route, I think, better. It is kind of hard to. I think you can take a look at uh, the video game itself and think, hey, would this be better animated or live action? And Legendary Link brings up a interesting point here, talking about the most recent Zelda games, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, as the ones to talk about. I mean, I think that those generally are probably. I mean, that what do you talk about Twilight Princess as the ones that would be better real life because they're kind of more like that in the games. As opposed to obviously you have Wind Waker, some different art styles, and in the top down 2D Zeldas, those might be better animated, but those there's a lot of ways that they could handle it. Um, they chose some not no name actors, but some smaller actors that are at least not as well known for the main characters as Link and Zelda, and so we'll kind of see. But I think that they can do a good job. Like it's not impossible to make a good live action film with the Zelda series, but it's going to be hard to get all the characters right.
Yeah, I mean, and I think Zelda, each game differs, and I think once the movie comes out, then we can start truly comparing it, obviously, to these other these other games that we're talking, or these other movies that we're talking about. But I mean, when you look at who they cast, I mean, I think those kids look the job, and I think casting people that are unknown is probably the best way to go. It's like the whole
Yeah.
Star Wars thing. Like you cast a bunch of unknowns because like putting really big people in Star Wars kind of takes you out of the world. And I
Yeah,
think the same thing
definitely.
is with Link. So you cast these unknowns that are probably British actors, and you put them in there. It doesn't take you out of the world. And so I think that's a
Yep.
big deal. Um, but I mean, there's some disagreement here in the chat. So Willie Jit, he said, um, I think I disagree. Zelda franchise would do much better as a live action since it's more realistic animation in games compared to Mario. And I can see that too.
I mean, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, you obviously have like the more realistic, you know, bow and arrow, sword, some different things. And we've seen that style as opposed to like, fireballs and turtles. I agree. Like we're talking that could be more like you could think of the people like the Bokoblins and Lizalfos and um all the different characters and enemies in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and you can like I can see some other movies that have done similar stuff like that. Like immediately off the top of my head, I know comes like orcs and the Lord of the Rings, like just ugly looking enemies, but like that's kind of what the game is. Like you have these ugly characters, and it's like, man, how do we make that live action? Like they've done that successfully.
Yeah.
They've been able like Hollywood can do that stuff, and that's why I think that there's a chance for it. And because I think same thing here, like I said with the Mario movie, Nintendo is involved, and I think that means that they're going to make sure that it stays true to the video game series, and that makes me think that at least the fans are going to be happy with the product they put out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is the time I think that it's good to have video game movies come out because we have the technology to do so.
Right.
And I think that we've kind of figured out that groove. And like you said, Nintendo, if Nintendo is truly involved with Zelda, if Nintendo is truly involved with Mario, if Nintendo is truly involved with Donkey Kong and whatever movies they're pushing out, we're
Yeah.
actually going to get something that's. I think Nintendo is going to have the best success, just like Marvel, if they continue down this road to have a true cinematic universe that we're all actually like clamoring over.
Right.
But I think it could be a difference between. I mean, I think we can have live action and animation because I mean, I think these are good points here. Is that like Zelda kind of lends itself to a real realistic world like Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
um, and I think Mario, Donkey Kong, all those other ones should stay animated. I don't think they need to be. We saw what happened with that '90s Super Mario movie when they tried to go live action. Like it was terrible.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, not good. And then again, like obviously we are fans of this series, but we're not the ones making the movies, nor are we like movie makers. And so I think that part of us, like part of me is just like, look, let them make the movies, let them do their thing, and we get to enjoy the product. And I think that's what we'll sit back and do. They've already delayed the Zelda movie one, so that is like always a kind of a good sign in my head. And what that tells me is that they're taking their time and they're making sure the product is quality. I know it seems kind of counterintuitive, but I always think of it as a good thing when I see things get delayed. Kind of like the original Sonic movie, because then I know that they're taking their time, they're making sure it's right, they're putting work into it.
yeah,
And so I have kind of high hopes, but I guess we'll see after the first trailer how everybody looks. But obviously the first pictures we saw of Link and Zelda and their characters looked solid.
yeah. Legendary Link. I thought this comment's pretty funny. I want to see the Zelda movie be like the John Wick series. Be an interesting thing with Link running around just slaughtering people. But
I mean, that's what you do in the games for sure.
yeah, I mean, maybe there's something to that. I think he also said if they can make the Link like the elves in Lord of the Rings, that'd be cool. Yeah, I definitely think that the vibe. Aren't they shooting in New Zealand?
Yeah, they are. They are.
Yeah, so I mean the vibe is there. I mean for Lord of the Rings, I mean Zelda definitely has that feel to it. So I think visually the movie's gonna look great. I just hope the story is good. Um, I'm a little nervous just from that standpoint, but yeah, we're not gonna
Yeah,
know.
the tough thing with that is like it brings up the question of what can I know we're getting carried away on the Zelda movie here, but
It's fine.
what can they do when they try to take a like a realistic approach of the game? Obviously, Link is literally slaughtering tons of enemies, bow and arrow, knife, a sword. bombs, all that sort of thing. But it's Nintendo. Are they going to do a PG-13 rating? Certainly not R, but like, are they going to do a PG-13 with this movie? If not, then they're going to have to avoid quite a few things if they want to make it PG, right?
Yeah, I'd imagine. I mean, but so I'm thinking this is where my mind went when you were talking about that. Another video game movie that kind of towed the line between action and violence and what the games actually portrayed was Prince of Persia. And I don't know if you remember that movie. Jake
Yes.
Gyllenhaal.
Yep.
But those games, like you're pretty much an assassin. You're going through. You're taking out people. I believe that movie actually was PG-13, but
Hmm.
it was produced by Disney. I mean, it was basically the same line as like Pirates of the Caribbean. And so
Yeah.
when you look at a movie like that, it probably has the same level of action and effects that Zelda would.
Yeah.
So I don't. I want to. I don't. I think Nintendo could go PG-13, but I think it would mainly be for action and adventure. I don't think they're going to add a bunch of like, language and that kind of thing.
No, 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 not language, but like, yeah, some of the fighting and whatnot. And now that I'm thinking about it a little more, I hope that they do PG-13 because I do think it'll be hard to make it a true to the games without some of that fighting that would make it PG-13. I don't know the exact like uh qualifications to make a movie PG-13, but I think it would be okay because when I think about video games and as a kid playing Zelda, certainly there are some kids who are under 13 that enjoy Zelda games, like without a doubt. But I do think that as you get older, the like you it's easier to be a Zelda fan as someone who's probably a little bit older than 13. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, but I'd imagine too, like just like Mario. I mean, like people are showing their kids Link and Zelda
Yeah.
really early on, and so I'd imagine that dads will be taking their kids to see Zelda, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's gonna be a little bit
sure.
different from Mario, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think PG-13 would be the move to go for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, as long as there's no language, it's just like some violence and like some of it's just it's serious stuff. I don't know what that's going to look like, but regardless, I'm excited for that movie. But I mean, the Mario movie's a month away. Awesome. Let's get back on track here. We're less than a month away. April 1st. I let's talk a little bit about Mario Day, which is next week. A couple big things happening with Mario. Um, I've heard that that's when the tickets are going live. Is Mario Day, March 10th or March 9th, maybe they might do it like that night. And then there's some more posters coming out. They have been going off the walls crazy with merchandise, marketing material for this movie. How do you think the buildup is going to be? Do you think this movie's like going to be packed out from day one, or how do you think it's going to open?
Yeah, I mean, we just talked about the success of the first movie, and it made over $1 billion, and um, the hype for Nintendo and Mario, I think, is better than ever. And so I think that the fact that this is called the Galaxy movie, they re-released the Galaxy games. There's the most successful, probably some of the most successful Mario games ever, and there's actually a focus there versus the first one.
Hmm.
I would say that it's going to be filled up more. The box office is going to break record numbers for the opening
Yeah,
weekend. I think it's going to surpass the box office of the first one. Obviously, the critic rating or the audience rating is probably going to fluctuate there, but I think overall, I think the success of this and the marketing of this has actually been even better, especially because Yoshi's in it, and Yoshi's going to be a huge draw for people.
yeah,
That's something that people that hated that wasn't in the first one, and so um, I think that considering the first one did so well without some of those things that people wanted, this
yeah,
one's going to blow it out of the water. So I think that once this movie comes out, we may actually have to do another video. Galaxy may end up being the best video game movie of all
yeah.
time.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, you're getting everyone back from the first movie, and you're adding in, at least that we know of, three giant Mario characters in Yoshi, Bowser Jr., and Rosalina. I mean, that's going to bring in a whole new crowd of people, that have those as their favorite characters, maybe, and like want to see a little bit more of everyone in action. It looks like we're going to get a little bit more time with Baby Mario and Baby Luigi for people who are fans of that. And so I think the way they're going with kind of hitting more, hotspots and people's desires for these movies is really really good. And they did the same thing that they did with the first movie, which is so interesting. They originally had the movie planned to release on a Friday like movies normally do, and then they bumped it up again to a Wednesday. And I think part of that is because, correct me if I'm wrong, Austin, but I think that's actually Easter weekend. Um, and they wanted to get the movie out on Wednesday, I assume, because they think more people are going to go see the movie, Wednesday and Thursday because it's a lighter weekend. And then they have the whole long, it makes that opening weekend like 5 days instead of three. And they're able to push bigger numbers. But yeah, I agree with you. I think we might be seeing record numbers in that opening weekend for video game sales or animated movie sales or whatnot.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I have no concerns about this movie by any means. After the success of the first one, and it had gave me a lot of faith in the way that Nintendo could adapt their games and to expand the media there. And I'm really excited to see if the success of the movies will impact the games at all in terms of how they um, push those stories forward and that kind of thing. Because I think we're going to get some bigger reveals in the movies with the story and the characters.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'd be curious to see if they like some of the stuff that they put in the movie, if that translates to any future games. That's another thing to think about is like these two things can now go hand in hand because obviously they're still making more games.
yeah,
We're still hoping for that new 3D Mario coming out at some point. But you
well,
never know if they're going to start to incorporate some movie stuff into the games now because the movies are not following the games exactly. And so they could both be borrowing from one another.
yeah. I mean, when you just mentioned the 3D Mario game that we've all been waiting for 1,000 years. Um, we don't really know what the game's going to be about. I mean, the only 3D Mario game that ever got a sequel was Galaxy.
Mhm.
Sunshine never continued. Odyssey, at least as far as we know, it's not going to continue. Yeah, I love the hat, dude. 64 obviously didn't continue. So like you're looking at those
Right.
games. Galaxy obviously did well enough for them to be like, we got to make another one. Obviously, the movie's coming out. Um, Part of me thinks that the plot points from the movies will translate into something with the games. I mean, um, you have something where they're merging these worlds now in the movies, like Donkey Kong and Mario. Maybe some more crossovers there, and you're also looking at something like we're potentially getting a Peach origin, connections to Rosalina,
Sure.
and so like could that all be connected to the games eventually?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I definitely think that we're going to get more story. I would like to think that we're going to get more story driven games with
So I know this is like totally long shot, but is it possible that we see a Galaxy 3
it's entirely
game?
possible.
Galaxy Game 3?
Yeah, yeah. I think with the success of the movie and with them making the movie, I would not be shocked by any means if we saw Galaxy 3 be the next 3D Mario
Dude, that would be insane for them to go back. But I wouldn't blame them at all because both Galaxy 1 and 2 are so beloved. I mean, they're diehard fans. I don't know the numbers, but there's a lot of people online that claim one's the best game of all time, best Mario game of all time. That two is the best Mario game of all time. So like, there's no shortage of Galaxy fans. It's probably one of the least controversial 3D Mario games. Like, I think it has less haters than the rest of the games. You know,
game.
both 64 and Sunshine like have their diehard fans, but they also have some haters. Even Odyssey has some haters, but Galaxy, I don't know many people that are dogging on the Galaxy games.
Yeah, which I wonder why that is. Because I mean, I don't understand haters because Sunshine is the goat, but people can whatever. Maybe I'm just a bias because GameCube was I don't know. GameCube was the best Nintendo system of all time, so people can suck it.
Yeah,
But
well,
uh,
not numbers wise, that would be the
not
stretch.
numbers wise by any means. But if you look at all the games, I mean, at least the nostalgia that I had for those, so maybe that's the
The
bias.
catalog is epic.
But I don't know. I mean, like every Mario's 3D Mario game I've enjoyed. I mean, Odyssey was so good. And I would not be a hater if they made a second Odyssey game. So like
Yeah,
I don't know, but I wonder what made Galaxy so different compared to the other ones because and maybe it was the story, but like I mean, you and I are going through Super Mario Galaxy 2 again right now
yeah,
in on the Switch, and so and it's got a lot of the same qualities that the first one did.
yeah. Pretty similar. And I think that's why like there's a lot of similarities between the two. Like if if one was good, two's going to be good because it's the same. You get Yoshi in a handful of levels, but the movement is kind of the same. I think it was just maybe a sweet spot between you know, fun, but not too like in depth, not too confusing or anything, like easy to pick up and play. There's a lot of cool elements to it that make it kind of short and snappy, but also some difficult parts to it. So I think they found like a good line between not too easy, not too difficult, nothing too like out of the world, pun intended, crazy. And yeah, I mean, maybe it was just a really like nostalgic time for a lot of people with the Wii. Tons of people had the Wii, so that's maybe another thing to it. Is like the Wii numbers were really good. Over 100 million people bought the Wii, as opposed to GameCube and 64 that are a little bit less than that. And so maybe that's part of it, is just it had a lot of people play the game.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's why I think this movie Galaxy is going to astronomically do well.
yeah,
And I think that we are officially going to be able to come back after this video and say the Galaxy movie is the best video game movie of all time.
yeah, absolutely. I think
Unless Sonic 4 does something crazy.
Yeah, I mean they're bringing in. I actually love that the Sonic movie is continually bringing in new characters and drawing from all that. I mean, I think that's epic, and I think Mario's kind of following suit with the first movie, leaving out lots of key characters and then bringing in a few more. They still have a lot in their pocket that they can bring out, obviously, and they'll continue to do that. But
Yeah. Um, so let's make a final consensus just based on what we talked about. And then I know
yeah,
we were going to talk a little bit about what Nintendo's got cooking for Mario a little bit moving
hmm
forward. Um, but we looked at Sonic, we looked at Detective Pikachu, we talked about some other video game movies like Minecraft, Street Fighter, Tomb Raider, Assassin's Creed. I mean, obviously some of those are kind of not even worth putting on the list compared to Mario and Sonic. But I mean, overall, do you feel Mario is the juggernaut, is the king?
I mean the answer is yeah. I mean if I didn't see all the numbers or know the audience score, it could be debatable, but me seeing the movie as many times as I have, and knowing how good of a movie it is compared to especially the video games, as someone who's played many of the video games, and then seeing the numbers, the audience score, box office, it is no doubt in my mind that Mario and Nintendo, they're king. And I'm actually a little bit excited to see what this next movie does, because I think it's just going to solidify Mario as being the goat on the big screen as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Mario is one of those games that, like, the fact that you and I and so many other people are still playing into their adult life, and it's a good grab and go, pick up and play for a little bit. Like, it's not as much of an investment as other things. Like, families play this together, all that kind of
Right.
stuff. There's a lot of charm to Mario, and it's such a simple idea that I think
Yep.
that, bar none, anything that's Mario related is going to sell. And I just
Yeah.
don't think that there's any, even with the box office numbers, even with the critic scores, the audience scores. Yeah, there's some back and forth between Sonic and Mario, but at the end of the day, I think I think Mario's it. So, if any of you out there that are watching us have any opinions about that or don't agree with us, let us know. But I definitely think that at the end of the day, we can safely assume, based off of what people said, numbers, and just our personal opinion of what it adapted, I think Mario is king.
Absolutely. So let us know if you guys are hyped for the Galaxy movie coming out in less than a month. And we're obviously going to be doing lots of content on that. So subscribe if you haven't. Let us know what you guys think. We've already given out a couple videos on some of the trailers. And like I said, there's going to be more to come leading up and after the movie. So thanks everyone for tuning in. We had a blast. Mario Mondays, as always. You can check us out next week. Same time, same place. We'll be back talking more stuff, getting excited for Mario Day. So thanks everyone for tuning in. As always, I'm Jonathan. This is Austin. I'll see you guys in the next one.
Wahoo!